What is going on, guys? Welcome back to another video. Today, we're going to be talking about the Ottawa Senators and more specifically, DJ Smith, what he's done this season, how he somehow still has a job. Ottawa has been just flat out embarrassing this week. They lose on Monday, 5-0 to the Panthers, which was like their worst home loss in like 10 years or something like that. And also, obviously, last night it really came to a head. I think, honestly, more embarrassingly, they had a 2-0 lead against the Columbus Blue Jackets. The Blue Jackets would go on to score 4 unanswered goals, resulting in that loss. DJ Smith, still the head coach. They're playing the Kraken today. Still the head coach somehow. But it's been an utter disaster. They're 8-10 right now, which is a 44% points percentage, which is second to last in the entire Eastern Conference, only behind the Columbus Blue Jackets. I think overall it's only behind the Oilers, Blackhawks, Sharks, and the Columbus Blue Jackets. So they're one of the worst teams in the entire league. I cannot deny it. But I think a lot of it has to do with DJ Smith. In my opinion, on paper, they should be a playoff team. So let's get into it right now. You talk about the Ottawa Senators and what has killed them regarding coaching thus far is these unanswered shrieks, and especially in that second period. You want to hear an absolutely ridiculous stat? Right now, the Ottawa Senators, this was after Monday night's game, so it's even worse now because they allowed 2 goals in the second period. They have only allowed 13 goals. It's actually 15 now because of last night's game. 15 goals in the first period, 29 goals in the second period, and only 14 goals in that third period. So they're starting out fine, then they just get absolutely caved in that second period. And I think a lot of it has to do with the coaching adjustments. You think about it, you head into that first intermission, you get to talk to your team for like 10, 15 minutes and just readjust your game plan based on what you've seen. And the elite coaches can recognize the trends of the game, what they're going to have to change to their game plan. And DJ Smith clearly cannot do that considering his team is literally getting outscored more in the second period than the first and third combined almost. You just look at this team. It was evident last night. They outplayed the Columbus Blue Jackets. They outshot them 43-23, but it's just the boneheaded turnovers, the system breakdowns, and overall just not that good of goaltending most of the time. But it just DJ Smith hockey just doesn't get it done. It's so evident that it's just an utter shit show. They've been the worst team in the second period in the entire NHL. He cannot adjust in game, and he's just so committed to his system, even though it is clearly not working. They're getting absolutely caved in that second period. It's so disheartening to watch when you look at the Ottawa Senators because they did have this exciting young core, but DJ Smith has kind of ruined that over the past couple years for the most part. And when looking at what he said last night, of course, he hit him with the usual, we did a lot of good things. The biggest bullcrap that coach can say with his job on the line. There's just no accountability. There's no standards on this team right now. They just do whatever they want. DJ Smith gets to skate around with his job. What kind of message does that send to the overall franchise and especially the fans if a guy like DJ Smith still has a job as of right now? This comes to us from Jack Richardson. The Sens have given up at least 3 unanswered goals in 3 out of their last 4 games. So yeah, his in-game adjustments are just so bad. They just go on the other teams just go on these deep runs. He can't adjust in between periods. It's just so sad to watch. And when looking at this standard that other teams have, the Senators clearly do not have that. You look at Woodcroft, you look at Evason. Both had very good records with their team versus DJ Smith is now, this tweet's like a couple days old. DJ Smith is now 128, 149, and 32. As the Ottawa Senators head coach. He's been there for 5 years. And in previous, the Eugene Melnyk relationship, Pierre Dorian. Dorian's gone. They have a new owner. What are you waiting for with this team? Are you going to let him get to 8-12, 9-14? Like, you need to pull the plug soon. And especially when you look at Minnesota, you look at Edmonton, since they have fired their head coaches. Although I don't even fully agree with their decision to fire their head coaches, I still think Woodcroft. I just combined them. I said Woodcroft and Evason. I thought they were good coaches, but clearly a change in the room has positively impacted them. The Edmonton Oilers are 6-3 with a +11 goal differential, and the Minnesota Wild are 2-0 with the +7. So even though maybe even if you don't bring in an all-world coach right now for a DJ Smith, just a change in the room, a change to the system, anything is better than what it is right now because he's been there for so long. This isn't a guy that's been there for a year and a half, 2.5 years, that they're still learning the system. DJ Smith has been the head coach of this team for 4 full NHL seasons. You've seen enough. Like, I understand the owner is new. Michael Andlauer is new, but the team's been largely incompetent during DJ Smith's tenure. Last year was their best year with 86 points. They've had 62 points in 71 games, then 51 and 56, 73 and 82, 86 and 82, and now 16 and 18. I just don't get what else do you have to see? How much longer? Because they can still turn it around, because like the first wild card spot in the Eastern Conference has like a 58, 59% points percentage, I think, right now. Like, the season, it's definitely going to be an uphill battle, but the season is not lost. You're not out of the season by, and especially because the Senators have only played 18 games. Most teams have played 22, 23 games at this point. So they have a bunch of games in hand. I'm not saying they're 1,000% going to make the playoffs, but if you just keep DJ Smith and you get to that 30-game mark and you're still 13 and 17 or something like that, then your season's over. They need to change something right now, win the next 5 out of 7 or something like that, get back to at least 500 by that 30-ish game mark, or else the season's over. I'm ready to call it after that. Not ready to call it after 18 games. I think that's definitely premature, but just overall, this team, I still think the talent is there, but they're just playing so lackadaisical, so boring, so uninspired for the most part, and clearly his system it's not suited for this team. And especially, yes, you can cut DJ Smith maybe some slack because missing Shane Pinto for 41 games, that hurts. Ridley Gregg got hurt. He's still out, going to be out for a little bit longer. And Thomas Chabot got hurt at 4 to 6 weeks. But it's not like they lost Kachuk, Stützle, like Ridley Gregg, Pinto. Good middle sixers at this point. They're very young. They could end up being very, very good players. But that's still no excuse for 8 and 10. That is absolutely no excuse for this team. And especially considering when they went to Sweden, I thought maybe they turned it around. I think they went 2-0. So I was like, okay, like, let's go. Like, this is when it starts. I think they were 8-8 or 8-7, I think, even after that Sweden stint. And all of that goodwill is just completely erased. And now they're 8-10 and at the bottom of basically the Eastern Conference. It's really disappointing because, again, I do think the talent on this team can make the playoffs, but it's going to be an utter war to get back there. But just overall, yeah, fire Smith. Even if you bring in an interim guy like a John Hines, that's only there for the year end, and then you go through your search. I understand firing a coach and then giving a new coach a 2 to 3 year deal is definitely risky. But if you can find a guy that can just come in that has some experience, I think that would be an upgrade over DJ Smith, because clearly the track record and clearly what is happening in terms of the blown leads, unanswered goals, it's similar to Lane Lambert. Lane Lambert, the Islanders have they're sitting at like 55% points percentage. Like, if you told me that before the season, I wouldn't think that that's like that bad of a start. But when you consider all the 9 blown leads in the third period, similarly with DJ Smith, them just getting absolutely caved in the second period with unanswered goals, that's when it becomes unacceptable. That like when you're just playing dead hockey for the most part, that is when it just becomes so frustrating for the fan base to watch overall. So just overall, I think Michael Andlauer really has he's got to do this soon, because honestly, the goodwill that he built up from buying the team, coming in, typing up Ottawa, and even the goodwill that he got from finally firing Pierre Dorion, that was such an egregious offense, losing a goddamn first-round pick for your franchise because you were pure incompetence. DJ Smith hasn't had a single isolated event like that, and it's hard to when you're the head coach versus a guy like Pierre Dorion. So like that also brought Michael Andlauer some goodwill with the fans, but every day that DJ Smith remains the head coach of this hockey team, it's chipping away at that goodwill, in my opinion, because this core is supposed to be winning. Again, last year, they did take a positive step, and last year, it still was fresh. They got Chychrun at the deadline. Stützle was emerging. Last year, it wasn't fully playoffs or bust. It is fully playoffs or bust this season, and you cannot be waiting around with a bum head coach like a DJ Smith in order to do that. When they were like 8-8 or like 6-6, I understood the calls were a little bit premature, but now that you're 8-10, almost a quarter of the way through the season, at least a fifth of the way through the season, it's getting real dicey, man. I at this point, I would say less than 50% chance that the Senators make the playoffs. And I'm a big Senators guy. I know you at home are probably saying like they have like a 10% chance. And I don't blame you for saying that based on what has happened thus far. But just overall, Andlauer got to make a change soon. If they lose to Seattle today at home, I understand after the Columbus game, I would have fired him at the Panthers 5-0 embarrassment at home, but you weren't going to fire him on a back-to-back at Columbus, and then I think it was at Columbus, then at home at Seattle. But if he loses the Seattle game to a Seattle team that's not that good, if I'm being honest, I think that is 1,000%. You got to fire him, or else we're not going to see a firing until at least like the 30-game mark. Because if they lose, 3 or 4 straight at this point, with the season kind of fading away, I think you got to call it. But let me know in the comments, what do you think about DJ Smith, Michael Andlauer, the Ottawa Senators as a whole? Should he be fired now? Should they wait it out? Who should they hire? Bring in Jay Woodcroft or Dean Evison, please, I beg. But I'll be seeing you guys in the next one.